Before we start this video, spoiler warning. I will be talking about both the manga and the anime when bringing up a lot of my points. So this is your only warning now. Hey, what's going on YouTube? This is your boy Chosen and welcome to another ranking video. Last time you guys really seemed to like the card videos, so I thought, why not make another one? Where today, we're going to be looking at and ranking each Team 7 member, excluding Konohamaru. And I know he is technically speaking part of Team 7, but I kind of wanted to focus on the younger next generation opposed to the older generation regardless of what age Konohamaru is. And I should also mention right before we start that regardless of where I rank these four, none of them are by any means weak. I also won't go into too much detail explaining what these guys can do since so many of my videos have already been explaining this, and I feel like everyone for the most part kind of already knows what these guys are capable of. Like for example, I could bring up Boruto's Karma Seal against Sarda since it's a valid argument against her, seeing as how he can just absorb ninjutsu. Only things necessary to help me prove my point on why I'd put one over the other, unlike the card video where I just explained everything there is to each member. Oh, and Boroshiki is restricted in this video. That form may consist of Boruto's body and abilities, but it is not Boruto in control. That is the mind of Momoshiki, who is a more formidable and experienced fighter, which wouldn't be fair to the other three on this list. So the Boruto I will be referring to is a fully conscious Karma Seal Boruto. Now let's begin. At number 4, I think this is something not a lot of people would disagree with me on, but I'd have to put Sarda as the weakest on this list. Again, this doesn't mean she's weak, it's just that Mitsuki, Kawaki, and Boruto are just that fucking strong. See, with Sarda, especially when you look at her abilities alone, she feels like a part 1 Naruto character, in a sense to where she has some pretty cool and strong abilities for her age. You know, how it should be. To where the other three are crazy overpowered and can scale to certain Shippuden characters. Sarda can perform Fireball, Phoenix Flower, Chidori, and Lightning Ball. She possesses combinations of long and short range attacks with 2 different kinds of natures. From my memory, I don't think Sasuke had a long range attack for any other element besides Fire Release until Shippuden, which is impressive on her part, and just like Sasuke at his age, also specializes in Shuriken Jutsu, gaining the highest mark in her class. Just like her mother, she possesses superhuman strength, not to the same degree, but with minimal chakra control, she is able to concentrate her chakra through her fist, making her a fearsome opponent to go up against when fighting close range. Sarda has also managed to awaken the 3 Tomoe Sharingan, which gives its user the ability to copy ninjutsu, which she has already done while mastering the stolen ability for herself, and improved kinetic sight, which is handy when it comes to dodging super fast attacks. But again, sadly, the problem, like I said, is not that she is weak, but the other 3 have all rather godly feats or the potential to possess godly feats. I'll get more into it later when I get to those characters, but with Mitsuki, take away Sage Mode, it'd be more of a debatable fight due to her being the best strategic fighter out of all of them, and the Sharingan alone. I think in terms of just Taijutsu, it probably would take Sarada over Mitsuki because of the extra boost in kinetic sight. But the problem here, which puts her at a bad disadvantage, is not only Sage Mode, but Purple Lightning, which was also teased in the change for Boruto opening 8. Mitsuki in Sage Mode, excluding Boroshiki, is the fastest character on this list by a mile. 3 Tomoe Sharingan Kid Sasuke wasn't able to keep up with one-tailed Naruto, so there is no way a 3 Tomoe Sarda is keeping up with someone who was able to blitz Orochimaru and Deepa being a Kara member before they even realized what just happened. I should also mention, Mitsuki performed this feat against Deepa as an imperfect sage where he doesn't have the horn and snakes. And even if she was able to see Mitsuki coming, it'd be a case similar to Rock Lee versus Sasuke where she might be able to see his movements, but her body wouldn't be able to keep up.
Your eyes may be quick enough to stay one step ahead of me, but if your body cannot keep up, what good does it do you?
In the case with Boruto and Kawaki, well, the simple fact that they can absorb all chakra-based attacks so easily is what makes this such an unmatched fight. It's like Karma Boruto or Karma Kawaki versus Sarda, except she can't use ninjutsu. Who wins? Her Sharingan could be some help in her evading, but her stamina isn't on par with a full breed Uchiha, so she can't even activate it for long. With Sarda's character, she has a lot of moves that resemble too much of her parents, I should say. If I'm not mistaken, Lightning Ball is the only jutsu Sarda knows that currently deviates from Sakura and Sasuke. And that doesn't make her weak, no, that's not what I'm implying, but it also doesn't make her overpowered since these are all kind of the basic jutsus and techniques that we are compared to seeing with the other 3. Every character on this list has had their whoa moment within the series. A high compression Rasengan, Boroshiki combining his Karma Seal with Kawaki to create the Rasengan unison, or Mitsuki with Sage Mode and performing a Sage Mode jutsu at the age of 12, which is pretty crazy. But with Sarda, it's a case to where where it's more of her brain power compared to the actual techniques that's impressive. Perfect example is the Boruto fight. She performed Fireball and Chidori, the most basic Sasuke jutsus to date, but it's not about the techniques alone that was impressive, it's how she used them. Or how when her and Boruto were forced to fight after being placed on a genjutsu, was able to release herself out of the genjutsu by using the reflection of the blade Boruto striked her with to cast a counter on herself with the sharingan. Although for the last time, sometimes brain power alone is just not enough, due to your opponents just being way too overpowered, and that is simply just the case with the other three. Next up is Mitsuki, and before we even tap into his abilities, I feel like it's important to briefly talk about how the benefits Mitsuki's body gives him actually does play a part in his battles. Mitsuki is a synthetic clone created by Orochimaru who was designed to be genetically perfect. Because of this, some impressive feats of Mitsuki is the ability to self-heal minor injuries within seconds despite not performing any hand signs, regenerate body parts over time, and the ability to endure more damage than the average person. Mitsuki is also able to morph his fingernails into super sharp claws, allowing him to finish off his opponents even without the need for ninjutsu. Although for it to be that easy, it'd have to be against someone pretty weak. Now moving on to his abilities, Mitsuki's two nature releases are lightning and wind, but I'd say his primary is lightning style, seeing as how his strongest base form jutsu is a lightning style technique in purple lightning. For those who don't know, purple lightning is the advanced jutsu to lightning blade, a technique that knocked out its user Kakashi on impact and shocked even Anoki, who possesses fucking particle style. You know, the technique that disintegrates its target on a molecular level. Other notable techniques Mitsuki possesses are snake lightning, wind style breakthrough, and something I should have mentioned earlier, but the ability to use the soft physique technique with which he can stretch his arms to use as weapons and restraints. Mitsuki is also the only Team 7 member who can perform the summoning technique, being able to summon a large number of snakes at will. And now comes the good stuff. Mitsuki is able to use Senjutsu Chakra or Sage Mode, which is the most used term. To date, he is the most unique Sage user due to the showing of chakra pouring out from his body that can also form into snakes to use on offense or defense. In the arc after his encounter with Urashiki, it was presented to us afterwards that Mitsuki can access for what I like to imagine is his imperfect Sage transformation, where he doesn't have the horn and snake surrounding his body. In this stage, Mitsuki is still extremely fast, being able to blitz past Deepa by saving Boruto without Deepa even realizing it until seconds after. His perfect Sage mode, however, is the real deal, again being able to blitz Orochimaru and take a scroll before he realized it was even gone, and is also able to perform his first ever Sage mode attack in Sage Arc Great Snake Lightning, which wasn't enough to break Deepa's armor but was enough to push him back a good distance, surpassing the Rasengan by a large margin, seeing as how Boruto couldn't even move him an inch when hitting Deepa at point blank. The problem, however, is just the plain fact that, just like Sarda, Mitsuki cannot undergo his trump card for long. But unlike Sarda, this poses more of a problem seeing as how it can kill him. And to be honest, it almost did, when forcing himself to stay in the mode in order to save Boruto and Sarda by quickly rushing to the closest medical center he knew. Now I know what you guys might be thinking. After all I just mentioned, how is someone like Mitsuki, who possesses unique body feats, purple lightning, and Sage mode, third? The reason is literally karma. Okay, maybe not just karma, but it is definitely one of the main reasons for sure. Karma, like I mentioned with Sarda, is able to simply just absorb every technique Mitsuki throws at Boruto and Kawaki. The only thing that gives Mitsuki a boost in this situation is all the unique body feats I mentioned earlier. But even then, restricting characters in a battle to not using ninjutsu, which is known to be the most nobilious out of kenjutsu, taijutsu, and ninjutsu, well, that's a problem. Mitsuki excluding Borushiki is the fastest out of all of them, especially undergoing Sage mode. But there are two problems with this. One, his heavy lack of durability, and if Karma is able to absorb anything that is completely chakra based, by logical terms, it should mean that Boruto and Kawaki could just suck up his transformation alone, seeing as how the snakes and green aura all come from Senjutsu chakra. But don't be mistaken, if Karma didn't have the ability to absorb chakra, Mitsuki would be first on this list indefinitely. The Karma Seal is a godly curse bestowed upon its user by Natsuki, who are literally called the gods of the franchise. Before Boruto was able to use the seal, and before Kawaki and Jigen and all that stuff, Mitsuki was the strongest one out of all the kids his age, and not even just because of Sage mode. Purple lightning alone would be too much for anyone to handle. And in second place, we got Boruto. Some might be surprised by this, but to be honest, I think this is kind of a no-brainer, so let me explain. Stemming from his two strong bloodlines, Boruto is a prodigy, regarded as able to accomplish anything he attempts in remarkably short periods of time. Having inherited Minato's genius and Naruto's unpredictability, he scored at the top of his class, and by the Genin exams, he was regarded as the most skilled in his class as well. He also possesses possessed impressive levels of chakra control, being able to perform ninjutsu with one hand as well as the Rasengan. This example I'm also about to bring up isn't one that helps him really in this list, but it is something that could help him down the line. After completing the trials at Ryuchi Cave, the snakes noted Boruto's promising potential to endure Senjutsu chakra, having passed trials that proved the strength of his body that could handle natural energy. But like I said, doesn't mean much right now. As a descendant of the Hyuga clan, he was taught the basic of Gentle Fist, though without the Byakugan, he is unable to target an enemy's chakra point. And unlike his father, Boruto was unable to wield a vast amount of shadow clones, being able to summon only 4, which isn't bad in this case, especially for one being a half Uzumaki and not containing Kurama. With the clones, Boruto was able to perform Boruto's Stream, which is basically his version of Naruto's Uzumaki Barrage in part 1. Boruto's Stream consists of him summoning 2 clones, with the use of Wind Style to throw him ahead at top speed, greatly improving the impact of his attacks, whether that be Gentle Fist or Rasengan. And speaking of the Rasengan, Boruto was able to summon Rasengans at a small age through one hand, after training under Konohamaru for a few days. Although its shape was small, over time he was able to increase it to normal size. Boruto today can use 3 different kinds of nature releases in wind, water, and lightning. Although his power with these elements isn't anywhere near the same scale as Mitsuki's Purple Lightning, it doesn't at all mean these are attacks that one should take lightly. Besides the Boruto Stream example I gave before, Boruto is able to use Gale Palm and combine his water and lightning style techniques together against Naruto and Ao, creating his first ever nature combination technique. With lightning style, Boruto was able to coat his shurikens, creating flashes on impact, blinding his opponents. Another wind style attack that has yet to be mastered yet, but was only possible after training with Kakashi, is the wind style Rasengan, where just like Naruto, he applies a change in chakra nature, creating a more powerful Rasengan, but not by a large margin. Other Rasengans Boruto has been able to create is the vanishing and high compression Rasengan. In the case to the vanishing Rasengan, Boruto was able to create a mini Rasengan that deals minimal damage, but is impossible to see or sense. Only Delta's drone was able to see it due to it having the ability to see invisible objects. And with high compression, Boruto compresses his base Rasengan, allowing it to do a shit ton more damage, almost killing Shijoji despite blocking the attack with a wind style technique that's supposed to be able to reflect all things, and was able to break Deeba's level 1 state where not even Mitsuki's Sage Art technique was able to do much in the same scenario. Now after his battle with Momoshiki, Boruto was bestowed the Karma Seal, which I'm gonna say this seal is no joke. And if I were to take this seal out of the equation for this video, we'd be looking at an entirely different list. That's how impactful it is here. The Karma Seal gives a black diamond appearance. It is a genetic backup of the Otsutsuki, which subconsciously allows Boruto to access the powers of Momoshiki. Once activated, the mark stretches and expands to cover his entire arm and the right side of his face in a series of elegant lines. While doing so, it greatly boosts his physical abilities and also lets Boruto absorb virtually any ninjutsu or energy-based attack. Also, Boruto can produce a dimensional portal to other realms. Originally, he could not access the mark willingly, and it takes a huge toll on his chakra, but was later taught how to more effectively use it through Kawaki. Even without proper training, Boruto was eventually able to utilize more of the mark's power with little struggle, something that even Ishiki found surprising, knowing that Boruto's strong and healthy body being compatible with the mark will enable the god tree to produce the highest quality chakra fruit. Now in this case, I shouldn't need to mention it since we have no idea what the Jogan does, but yeah, Boruto does possess a new jutsu called the Jogan, which was an eye frightening to Urashiki himself, where just like with Mitsuki's Sage Mode, he stated the eye to be troublesome. But since we don't know why and Boruto can't exactly use it, it doesn't really factor anything for this video. Although in the future, this might not be the case. As you guys can see, Boruto is extremely versatile, that's no question. The problem, however, which is why I put him second, is due to 90% of the shit I just mentioned having no significance regardless due to, you guessed it, Kawaki's Karma Seal. What gives Kawaki the edge is the fact that his strongest feats don't consist of ninjutsu, but other things instead, that wouldn't get countered by the Karma Seal. Whereas a vast majority of Boruto's greatest techniques does consist of ninjutsu, which is completely pointless in this predicament. And at number 1, as we all know, we have Kawaki, and just like Mitsuki, Kawaki has had body modifications that naturally give him the edge against his opponents. This is due to scientific ninja tools. You can basically look at Kawaki as a scientific ninja tool himself. Kawaki's body, stated by Katasuke, was deemed to be a piece of art that was proven to be more advanced than even the prosthetic arm he designed for Naruto when fighting Boruto. The difference between Kawaki and Mitsuki in the simplest terms is that Mitsuki is classified as a synthetic human that was genetically engineered using organic organic technology, whereas Kawaki was a human transformed using inorganic. His shinobi wear takes the form of nanoscopic scientific ninja tools implanted throughout his entire body, which seem to be able to make particular alterations at a cellular level, granting him unique superhuman abilities. For example, his body tissue can undergo rapid cellular division, causing it to expand, and can instantly undergo different transformations within his body, kind of similar to Jugo in a sense, weaponizing it to produce sharp blades, which has also been shown to shed or be thrown as projectiles, enabling him to produce a variety of tools and weapons for battle. Kawaki's body also grants him accelerated healing similar to Mitsuki. In ways, he and Mitsuki are kind of similar, but when it comes down to the offensive attack boost both their bodies give him, I definitely take Kawaki, seeing as how he can do so much with his scientific ninja tool infused body, whereas with Mitsuki, he can only sharpen his fingernails and extend his arms. Kawaki definitely has the better ability in this case. However, in terms of just ninjutsu, this aspect of him is where he doesn't shine. Being raised by Jigen, trained to be his vessel, Jigen had no reason to teach him ninjutsu, only taijutsu, resulting in him having a lack of knowledge surrounding ninjutsu. However, while training with Naruto, Kawaki was able to perform some minimal techniques, being the shadow clone jutsu and fire release through one hand. It seems to us that Kawaki's primary nature is in fact fire release. But as for the big guns, and by big guns I mean the Karma Seal, this and his modified body in my opinion is what brings him on top. Just like I mentioned with Boruto, the Karma Seal is the ultimate seal to date. It allows Kawaki to absorb ninjutsu and expel attacks scaled off of how much he drains. And just like every Karma Seal user, he is also able to open up portals, allowing him to freely travel dimensions at will. The downside to the seal, however, in Kawaki's case is with overuse, it will cause him to fall unconscious, leaving him wide open for attack. So if he were to go all out with the seal, he'd need to make sure he beats his target before passing out. And by factoring the restriction on Borushiki, this is a no-brainer for Kawaki, seeing as how neither Boruto and Kawaki can perform ninjutsu against each other, making it mostly a battle of taijutsu. And due to Kawaki's modified body and just overall being more knowledgeable and experienced with the Karma Seal, that gives him a greater edge over Boruto. Boruto can still use some techniques like the shadow clone or transformation technique, or that lightning style shuriken move I mentioned before as distractions, but with Kawaki's rapid self-healing abilities, it's going to be harder for him to kill Kawaki while already being at a close range disadvantage compared to him being easier to kill against Kawaki with him having a close range advantage. And that's it. Every Team 7 member ranked in my opinion from weakest to strongest. This generation of characters has gradually impressed us when it comes to rather older techniques used by their parents or newer techniques that haven't transgressed from Shippuden, and I definitely can't wait to make a sequel to this video when Team 7 enters the time skip way later in the future. Anyways, I appreciate those for watching until the end. Do be sure to let me know what you guys think of the ranking for this video in the comments down below. Also, be sure to hit that like and subscribe button if you're new, and I'll catch you on the next one.